Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Hi. Oh, I like that. That's a good crowd.
That's a good crowd. Hey, thanks for coming tonight. It's so good to be here. My name is Tim Thompson. I'm the founder of RevThink. This is Patrick Jager. He was one of our consultants and now has moved on to bigger places, NBC Universal, in the VP of development there. So we're thankful to have Patrick here. Let's give Patrick a round of applause.
Thanks very much.
RevThink is a consultancy dedicated to the creative entrepreneur. Our idea is to help you, the artist, the creative, satisfy the things you want to do in this career you're living out. It's not always easy, we know it. There's a lot of competition. In case you're wondering, just look to your right or left tonight. You're probably competing with people in the room, right? But the opportunity is really to understand what a career is like or how to navigate it is somewhat hard. So we like to say, you carry the compass, we'll help you with the map. And try to navigate a career stage by stage. So this partnership with NATPE is just one of those things we like to do at RevThink to get people out of their house, start thinking strategically about what it takes to do the things we want to do. It's not easy, right? Like you often feel like there's some kind of barrier between your dream and then the reality that you're up against every day. And that navigating and understanding those decisions we're constantly making, do I take this gig or that gig? Is this the right moment? Is that the right meeting? Should I spend that money? Should I not spend any money? Are those things that we're always asking ourselves. And it's a difficult thing to understand. I don't know about you, but some days I wish I could have just been like a barber, right? Truly, I say this to people all the time, the coolest people that I saw growing up were the garbage men. Because they were like those guys hanging on the back of the garbage truck and they would jump off and throw those cans and bang it. And I remember being little thinking, I want to be that. And then there's some moments where I'm getting this gray hair and stressing out and all these worries and wonders I have, and I think, I want to be that. So we know what it's like and we lived it out. I myself have been a producer. I've been around this industry for about 25 years. I was lucky to start off on big shows like the Emmys and the Oscars. And along the way, I discovered that what I'm really good at is helping people that are really good at something. I've learned and understood and appreciated the work it takes and the true talent it takes to be world class. So I just want to share something with you. It's observations I've made. Oh, I have to back up 1 second because I have to do some homework first. I'm sorry. They gave me a cue card. This is us. This monitor's not on, by the way. I don't know if that. We don't have business cards. And we're not doing that because we're cool. We actually just forgot them at home.
Well, we are cool. let's not downplay it.
But we do have a mobile app. This is our mobile app. It's just a URL. It spells out RevThink with a dot in the middle. If you go to that, you'll be able to get a hold of Patrick and I. There's actually a section in there called Speakers. That has my email address. You can get a hold of me. Has our bios and that such. Also, if you're interested, this entire presentation we're doing, we've uploaded that for you. So you don't have to take photos of every slide up here. You just download it. It's in PDF format. It's there for you. Try to make your life easy. So that's available to you tonight. Please feel free to do that. We do have an email verification in that thing, so don't be afraid. We're not going to spam you. We just want to make sure we're not getting hackers downloading our stuff. So that's available for you tonight. Please feel free to be part of that. And again, if you want to get a hold of us, we're more than welcome to always have conversations. So your career, let's go back to your career. So there's an observation I've made in this career that I've watched and I observed, and I've been a fan. I don't know about you, but I've watched Entertainment Tonight for about 25 years also. There's something that we all recognize, that there are some people that make it a short time, like the one-hit wonders or the one TV show or the really, really good, I don't know, TV show that they made, commercial. And then there are people that seem to be able to have a career that lasts years after years after years. And if you watch that, you'll see that some people they come up and then they go back and they come up and they go back. So I've discovered like there's a pattern to this career process. I just want to share with you real quick. because what we're doing here tonight is helping you elevate your career in something very specific. But your career starts with this. There are 4 stages in your creative career, and the first one starts as you, the artist. Now, we all know this. This is the one where you're the commodity. They hire you, you look good, you write well, you shoot well, whatever it is that you do, you're able to do that, execute it, and get paid for it. You're an artist. You're probably the best in your class. That's why you're here. And people expect you to be good the minute they hire you. So there's prep and understanding and schooling before we get to this stage, but the stage you can be a professional artist is the stage that we mostly enter our professional careers doing. From the artist stage, there's this next stage called the auteur. I'd like to say this. The auteur is the person where everyone else does the work and this person gets credit for it. So like a director. A director has a big team of people around them, but we still call it a Steven Spielberg film. That's an auteur. Many of us live out auteurs by owning our own business. We might own the production company, even put our name on the production company, Tim Thompson Incorporated, right? And then I hire the artist or hire the talent to come alongside me and help me fulfill the dream there. And there's a scale to this. If I can hire people, I can do more work, make more money, maybe gain some security. But what's interesting about scale is you can't really go beyond that scale because you're mostly just taking. You're basically using up the field, right? You plant the seeds and then you use it, plant the seeds and use it. So if we want to scale, what we need to understand is we have to start moving away from ourselves and start giving back. So the first stage of giving back is actually a stage like a curator. Now, a curator is interesting because they're like an artist. It's still about them, and they're doing the job. But the work they're doing is in the promotion of others. So unlike the auteur, where they get the credit only, with the curator stage, it's an evolution where other people get the credit alongside the artist, in this case, curator. But this last stage is so unique. I say we get into this industry for one of 3 reasons: fame, fortune, or freedom. And if you look at these 3 stages, you can see them represented here. The artist, fame; auteur, fortune; curator, freedom. Other people do the work, you promote them. This last one's so unique because we see it so rare in our industry. It's not one that it's obvious to us. We almost know that the people exist because we might give them lifetime achievement awards, right? This last stage is the stage of a collector. Now, a collector, like a curator, recognizes others. It's that first evolution of giving back to others. But a collector is the one that buys the piece of art for $1 million and hangs it on the wall of the museum for free and somehow creates value. Beyond fame, fortune, and freedom, as we live out this long career, what we must be able to do is collect. And so that last stage is actually influence. And if we start soon and we start right, every stage we move through a stage of influence. So as we gather, as we collect, I like to say collect the dots and then connect the dots. So that collecting is always happening. Well, I introduced that to you tonight, one, because we're in a room full of creative people and you know what I'm talking about, which is really good. Most of my kids' parties, people don't know what I'm talking about. But also, this is the beginning, hopefully, maybe some of you in the middle of you collecting. Patrick and I, we love this career. We've lived it out. We have lots to share. Sometimes I say we're the elders, but he doesn't always like that because he's older than me. By like 2 months, I think.
Yeah, careful what you say.
Yeah, right. But there's this opportunity that we've seen and we gathered, and this is our opportunity to just give back. Mm-hmm. This is us and our moving forward and seeing what we can do to give back. So we just love the fact that you're here. We're so thankful you can be part of it. We're so thankful we can share our knowledge with you, and we want to keep on sharing. So please feel free to get a hold of us. Please Feel free to join us at Calendars. And as we talk tonight, feel free to ask us questions. We just love that you're here. So thank you very much. I'm just going to give you all a round of applause. So now I have a favor. I would like to take a class picture. But since this is the SAG union, I need to make sure that everyone's okay with us capturing their image. So if not, I'll give you 4 seconds to leave the room. Otherwise, this is my boy Seamus, and he would just like to take a photo of all of you. So let's get yourself ready. Can we bring up the house lights at all? Is this a decent? I'm blind. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh wow, you guys are beautiful. We should keep it like this. All right, let's all look. You can look at Seamus waving him for a minute. I'm getting a nice photo of y'all. Great. All right, now smile. Let's see, get a nice picture.
Hair and makeup.
All right, yeah, hair and makeup, right. All right, thank you so much. So I want to introduce you to Patrick Jager. Patrick and I have worked together for 3 years now. I met Patrick when he had his consultancy called Core. And when I heard Patrick talk, actually I heard Patrick on one of our podcasts that my partner was doing, I thought to myself, that guy is different. He thinks backwards, and he puts the right things in the right place. So I called him up and I said, hey, will you do me a favor? Can you just join RevThink? The people that follow us and the work that we do, we would love to hear from you. So Patrick said, no, I'm just kidding. He said yes. So Patrick, for the last couple of years, have been helping the agencies that we work with their content. We unfortunately lost him to NBC Universal recently. But we hooked him in for you before he left. So as part of that contract, he's there. So we love that we're here. And I'm going to hand it over to Patrick. And Patrick's going to run the show and start talking about content making. Again, we want you all to know that you can feel free to ask questions. If they're bad questions, we'll just have you tell us later. But I'll give you the thing.
Oh,
thank you all very much.
This is fancy.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah. This is great. Well, hi. Nice to see you all. So I will say he's one of the smartest guys I know, and also one of the nicest men I know. But his wife is even cooler.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, so as Tim said, I've been in this for a long time. I started out as an actor, and I acted until halfway through college when I realized I was not good. It wasn't that I wasn't good, it's that it wasn't my passion. I was doing it for fame, which is fine. We all have a living and that's awesome, but it wasn't my calling. My calling, like Tim, is I'm a producer. Like I love nothing more than to put the money and the people and the thing and the idea and make it happen. And I got very lucky. First thing I ever did, I was actually doing rights and clearances and legal work at Universal, and I was clearing clips for an A&E biography, and the producer was like, you're better at this than the other producers that I work with. Why don't you come and produce one of these things? So I went over to Entertainment Tonight, and I was producing A&E biographies out of Entertainment Tonight, and I won a cable ace on my first one, and I was a producer. I was like, dude, this is easy. And it was not easy, and it has been very hard. The gray hair is all earned, but I do not regret anything I've ever done, because to be creative, to actually figure out how, thank you, it's on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To figure out how, we were going like this because this monitor wasn't on and we looked weird going like that. To figure out how to connect the dots is what we all want to be in our lives, right? That's really what we do as creative people. And throughout the process, there are tons of roadblocks that do not want that dot connected. So part of why we do this, as Tim said, is because it's all about the dots. So we started this with NATPE in Miami in January. And this quote is something that I think is a really important quote for all of us in this room, regardless of if you are here in front of the line, behind the line, doesn't matter. Great stories happen to those who can tell them. Now, in production, that is very different than in someone that is an actor or a writer. You are telling them by delivering or writing it. In production, you're doing that by connecting the dots. And it is a very, very, much like any part of this industry, is a very, very, very crowded field. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies that produce for linear television not even looking at all those that produce for digital or YouTube. There are thousands of production companies in the United States and Canada alone.
Patrick, when you say
Yeah.
linear television,
Linear television,
broadcast or something else?
cable, anything in cable. So linear is the traditional cable model. So linear is a 22 or 44 minute show, give or take. Then there is OTT, we're going to get to that in a little bit, but I think a great question. It's a very saturated market. So to do well, much like anything else, you have to know how to do it, and it is as much science as art. And that's what we're really here to help you with, is the science of it. The art's up to you. The science we want to be able to help you with. So here's the first thing. This was our topic for Miami. WTF is wrong. Well, a lot is wrong. The biggest thing I would like to tell you is that because everything now looks the same. I created a show several years ago. I was developing shows for a production company, and everyone said, "What's our Duck Dynasty? We need our Duck Dynasty." And then it became, "What's our Property Brothers?" So I came up with a show, and my show is now the one that everybody uses. What's our Fixer Upper? What's the thing we're going to do? Well, I don't know the answer to that. But the problem is we're saturating the world with the exact same type of thing over and over and over. What we have to do in this business, and this is why I've joined NBC Universal. I'm running a SVOD, so a subscription video on demand, like a Netflix or Hulu, but this is for people that want to lean into their lives and learn how to do something and really activate their lives. We think differently. We think like 1950. What was 1950? 1950 was Palmolive Presents, Lucille Ball, branded content. Everything was about money by corporation. Everything was about stories based on actual bona fide product, not just people. So that's the first thing that we talked about in Miami, was flip the idea on your head and don't think about, I have to have the great idea. Think about who the pieces are that are going to allow you to make that idea a reality.
So one of my favorite things with the kids is listen to the old time radio shows on Sirius XM, and their favorite is
awesome.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
No way.
Yeah. So right in the middle, if you guys know the show at all, it's basically just a series of characters that come in and out of the front door, and this couple interact with them. And one of the characters inevitably is the Johnson Waxman.
Yeah.
And he always comes in, he always has a couple of jokes, he does the commercial, and then he leaves like every other character.
Right.
And you think like we adapt to it, we even joke along with it, and it's clearly a product placement. That's you can do this in a clever way where your audience will love it.
Yeah, but that's a way to think differently. Don't go in the front door. Everyone's going in the front door. I have a great script. I have a great idea. We're gonna do the show. It's gonna be two husband and wife. They're gonna flip houses. That's been done.
Yep.
So what's the back door? And so we spent a lot of time talking about flipping your idea on the head. The second thing, this is a great quote. This guy's a genius. Be true to your DNA. You have to engineer your own authentic narrative. So engineering, we really do talk about the science, not the art. I've been very successful selling television shows, and it's not because I have some secret sauce that I know what's going to be the next hit. No one knows what the next hit's going to be. There is no such thing as viral. There is no such thing as knowing that you're going to have the breakout hit. You are lucky, and we all know that. I mean, I have friends that I produced with that have won Academy Awards. I have friends that I acted with that have won Emmys and Tonys. I have not. They were lucky. They're very talented, don't get me wrong, but it was right place, right time. And so that's true with everything. So that's the art of it. The science is, how are you going to get the best advantage? And we really talk a lot about DNA. So I'm going to show you two slides. This is my, if you take nothing else away from tonight, this is something that I have kind of coined, this idea of reverse engineering content. All right, ready?
Can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
I want to clarify something. You seem to be talking about reality television and scripted reality television as opposed to narrative-driven stories. Is that correct?
No, I think this works for everything. I really do, because I think the same thing is true with the script. I have this great script for a blank. I guarantee you, no matter what script you have, and no disrespect to anyone in this room, but I can say this with confidence because it's true for me at least. Oh, hello. there is no such thing as a new idea. Your script that you have, you can change the name of the person in the town from X to Y, and someone else has presented that exact same script to the reader.
So when it comes to narrative too, I remember hearing Seinfeld talking about when he switched the model of the TV show. The original was not such a great format, and then they switched it to the one we all love. And the interviewee asked him, well, would that have gone off air? And he said, no, it would always be on air because I was hitting the right demographic. Mm-hmm. And that's the same idea is, even if you're doing narrative, who are you presenting it to?
Right.
Who are the viewers, therefore who are the buyers? And that's what you have to recognize, the engineering part of this business.
I think the big thing, one of the big things to think about is the difference between passion and purpose, right? Passion plays, we all have passion plays. I have 2 scripts out right now that are passion scripts of mine. One I just got signed. The other one, I've been floating this damn script for a very long time. Yeah, right. It's a passion play. If it has a home, it will have a home, and that's great. But you also still have to work. So we're talking more about the work side and the idea on how to think your way, steer your way through the waters and pass those dots to get the work done. So I think this works as well for scripted as unscripted. I talk more in unscripted terms because that's my occupation, but my passion is more on the scripted side. So when you guys hear me, feel free to ask that same question because that's a very fair statement. But try to juxtapose it. So traditional content model, everyone starts with the what. What is my script? What is my idea? I have a great idea. That's all you need to know. Oh my God, best idea ever. It is going to sell. Then they try to figure out, after they have the idea, then they go for the end result. And the end result is, who's going to do it? How is it going to be done? Where is it going to be? It doesn't really matter because the idea is more important than where, right? It's such a good idea, of course everybody's going to want it. Right? The problem is, look at the margin. The difference between the known and the unknown, my idea and the ability to get it done, is huge. It's very vast. And the reason for that is because you don't know all the variables. You don't know what networks are looking for. You don't know what producers are looking for. You don't know what studios are looking for. You don't know what a brand's looking for. You don't know where to find it. They might have just had that and it was a flop. They don't like that talent. They don't like that producer. You don't know. So reverse engineering. It was cooler down there because we had it all animated, but we don't need that here. So reverse engineering. I don't start with the what, I start with the why. Why is what we're doing important? If you can answer that, if you have an elevator pitch that can give someone in 2 floors exactly the why, you are 2/3 of the way through the battle. I sell things not because I have a great idea. I sell things because I can get to people's why. And that is vastly more important to whoever owns the pocketbook. Because at the end of the day, ye who pays wins. So start with the why.
So you're saying open the pitch on the why?
Absolutely.
Open your idea
Why,
and the why.
Yeah, exactly. Even pre-pitch, open your idea, open everything. Why is this important? If you can't answer that, if you start to ramble like, because there's still no one has really ever touched on the idea of the thing, and you are not ready.
What is the ROI, ROE?
Return on investment, return on engagement. So what is the why? Are people looking to get their money back? Are they looking to pull more people in? And this isn't just financiers. This isn't just brands. This is anyone. Like, why would someone do your script? Is it because they want to engage a new audience that they haven't engaged before? Is it because they really are only in it for the money? Like, what is the return they want? What's the why?
And in today's economy, the idea of an influencer and the influencer play is the ROE. Like, they're trying to gain as much audience knowledge and know-how and understanding before they convert it to dollars.
Right.
Some people are giving money in to get a bigger return out. That's the ROI part of it.
So then once you know your return, then it's who? Who are you going to go after for that? Because if you're going to have a return, who's going to give you that return?
Right.
So the problem is when you start with the what, I have this great idea, then you have to try to figure out who is going to be part of that. And you think, well, it's all females are going to like this. Well, no. So then after you figure out who it's going to be is how, where, what's the distribution of it? Well, it's going to be on Sony, it's going to be on AMC, this is a Netflix play. Well, your why and your who will help determine your how. When you start with the idea, you're just going out in a vacuum and hoping someone's going to go, that's right, and it's going to be here with these people and this. That's passion, not science. So then, after you've figured out all that, then you come up with the what. And notice the margin. The unknown is so much smaller. Now, can I guarantee can I guarantee that this will sell?
No.
No.
Yeah, sure.
But the reality is, you're vastly further ahead, in my experience, no matter what it is you're trying to do in a creative world, if you've answered those questions. Because those are the questions that people with the purse strings and the access to distribution are asking. So if you go in thinking about that, you can win.
So one thing we've discovered is the creative brain actually works. That when given an opportunity to think of something unique, if any of you have done improv classes, you know that it's a requirement to do that. The way Patrick's model works is if you do your homework and you're studying first, you'll always find the creative idea because we know your creative mind works. But if you start with the most creative idea, it's much harder to clear those barriers to get to the point of making it TV. And we want you to become professional television makers or professional filmmakers. We want you to do this for a living, meaning we want to give you a pattern and an engineering process that you can repeat it over and over and over again so you can do this for a living, not just make that one item that you want to make. That's where these models fall in place.
Yesterday at the office, I was blaring my Spotify it was One Hit Wonder Wednesday. Oh my God. And we were blaring these things. And what do they all have in common? Well, not all of them, but I've done enough behind the musics in my career to know why don't laugh, I did a lot of them. They paid for a house. One of the things that you find on One Hit Wonders is they went in with passion, and that was their only idea, and then it was like, I'm done.
Yep.
But they had all this talent. But because they said, nope, I have to be about my passion, they don't have anywhere to go with it.
One of my favorite anecdotes is that Tom Hanks arguably started his career, obviously beforehand, but his production career in doing the Playtone, the TV show about the one-hit wonder, or the movie about the one-hit wonders, and that launched his film producing career as part of it. And so he made a career out of starting with a movie about one-hit wonders. And like the juxtaposition of understanding that one-hit wonders are only about passion, and what he was doing was making a play for a long-term gain. Like, we want you to flip the same model in your head.
You may be planning to do this already. Could you take the why, think of what, why, how, what, and apply it to an existing property and imagine what that might have been?
Yeah, we will do that for sure. And you can throw it out. And we can try to reverse engineer it ourselves. We can try to dissect it. Now, again, some of it's luck. And some of it is nepotism. And some of it is a lot of different things. But the reality is, anyone that starts not lucky enough to have a lucky sperm bank or the lucky best friend or next door neighbor or bar mitzvah or whatever, it's always related then to how they were able to sell themselves, the confidence they were able to do. And I'll tell you, this reverse engineering thing, what it's given me is the confidence to be in a room and pivot. The art of the pivot, pivot, the most important word for me in any development idea I've ever done. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a room and I went in and I had I had my great idea. And they said, yeah, we're not really looking for female ensembles right now. What we're really looking for, what's interesting about that is that we were just talking about that this morning, and we were saying that this idea, if you would take it out of the boat and put it in a car and have it be a guy, it would be amazing. And we've done this, and we've done all the research on it, and it's true, because 92% of men think about the car more than the boat. And they're like, that's right. Now, yes, they know I'm full of bullshit, but they also know that I know what I'm talking about. That I'm willing to think back and then reverse engineer back to the why of that. And not be like, no, it has to be a female, and it has to be in a boat, and it has. That's the passion play. That's the one-hit wonder. Truthfully.
And I'll say some of us struggle because we imagine ourselves in that role. Like, we want to do the certain TV show so we can be the interviewer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's always about me being the interviewer. And you realize maybe it's a good idea for a TV show. Maybe we need a really talented person to do it instead of just the person come up with the concept.
Yeah, I still have pangs of that. I hadn't acted in a long time. I'd just been producing, and I had an agent that was kind of dabbling for me, and I got very sick and was in the hospital, and I got a call. I'm like, you have an interview, you have an audition tomorrow at TLC. It's for a host job. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to make that one. and then I never tried again. And I look back at that, and it was probably the best thing in my life, because it would have just been another, I would have gone, but I was pursuing what I thought I was good at versus what I was really good at. And that is not to dissuade anyone in this room from whatever your passion is. Don't take that the wrong way. My passion was not.
Yeah.
And this point here is very important. Part of it was my ego told me I had to be an actor because I was handsome and smart and charismatic, but that was the passion in me. If you want to produce or do on the business side of this business, it doesn't matter how successful you've been in anything you've done. You might have sold 3 scripts already. You might have produced a television show. You might make a lot of money in your day job in this industry. But if you think that you are all that in a bag of chips, I am telling you right now, you will not succeed. You might be lucky, but you will not be successful.
Yeah.
Because this is an industry, as we all know, where no matter what you are or who you are, there are 275 million people that would like your job. And they'll do it for vastly cheaper, and they're smarter and faster and everything else. So check your ego at the door.
Absolutely.
He tells me to check my ego at the door.
Well, I'll even say that you can also hear the hint of the idea of that curator, where it's the beginning of giving back. It's not about me, it's about me making something that other people might be able to thrive as well.
Yeah. How's the pace? Are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
All right. So next thing, let's talk about the media landscape. Content is not going away, no matter what screen you're watching it on. The doomsday of film, the doomsday of television, the doomsday is not accurate. 92% of content viewing is still on a screen. It is not changing, but it is morphing. I want to shoot on film. Well, digital is cheaper and is gorgeous. I drove by, I had a meeting at YouTube today, and I drove by IMAX, and I was just looking at them thinking, I feel so bad for them. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but I'd think about how much, because they are it's kind of like Kodak. You know, where's Kodak today? Where are a lot of things that they like, this is what I am and this is how I am. Morphing it's very important to know that. We were talking about linear television. So linear television, when you think about linear television, it was the big 5. That's all we had. When we were talking about Fibber McGee, it was a big
3.
No, I think back then it was 2.
2? Wow,
just 2. Maybe, I think it was CBS and NBC.
Yeah.
And now there are, I don't know, your cable package, my bundle is 350 or some stupid thing like that. Okay, I was working out this morning at the hotel, and there's a closed caption TV news channel, CCTV, and it's just closed caption of like car chases and things. It's just a news, like you can have a channel for anything. There is a channel for absolutely everything. So linear, big 5, still there. Linear television, cable, still there. OTT plays like a HBO, still there. Hulu, SVOD subscriptions like a Netflix or a Hulu, still there. Digital, be that YouTube or I don't know, Pop Sugar or anything, Vice or Vox or anything you watch, all still there. What the challenge has become is that means that the profit margin has shrunk. When I started, and I'm not that old, when I started, we were still able to command some really crazy prices for shows because there was vastly more need than the people that could do it. Well, now everyone knows how to shoot. I mean, the iPhone has made it so everyone's a filmmaker. And as a matter of fact, there are places where you can upload your footage and they will make a movie for you and send it right back to you. So the content has changed. That's really great for a creative because if you reverse engineer it, why am I doing this? Why am I? What's the return I want? If the return I want is I want to take my brand awareness from the 2,700 people I have now to 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 in a year. 6 months. That's not that hard to do. You just have to go through the process to figure it out. And why do you do that? Because I want the exposure. I want return on engagement, right? I want people to see me more. I want to test an idea. I want to get enough people to test the idea that I can see if that talent actually pops. And if they pop, because I have them signed, I can take it to a network and say, look, I can prove to you this works. That's science. Yeah. Or if I can go and say, you know, I want to test an idea for a film, and because there's 5 or 6 other things I've seen out there, but I can do something kind of Blair Witchy. I don't mean like the theme, but like, you know, that was shot really cheap. Like if I can go and do something really cheap and cool just to test if people resonate with it and let it be, what am I doing? I'm doing it as a focus group. Great. Like the media landscape is, if you take it right, and you don't say I have to do it the traditional way, the way that MGM has been doing it forever, then there's so much opportunity out there.
So the reason we like to start with the why and the who is because it's universally appealing. When you ask the question why, it doesn't require a format, a certain piece of talent, even a demographic yet. You can ask the question of why is it necessary, or what kind of movement do you expect to get out of it? Who do you expect to influence, and what kind of inroads can you make in a community or society or culture? You can ask those questions first, and then you start asking the question, well, who might be those people I come alongside with, or who would be the person I could partner with in that process? And then when you know that part of it, you can say, well, what could we then do together? Or where would this be seen? Well, now that we know I'm going to partner with a community in South Chicago, and there's a film festival, maybe we should make a movie. Instead of starting off like, I'm going to make a movie. What's it about? Doesn't matter. It's going to be on film. That doesn't really get you anywhere. Does that make sense? So the universal appeal of the process to get to what you want to make, that's what we'd like to teach.
Let me ask somebody in this room. How many of you have pitched an idea thinking that you had the idea? How many of you have been too scared to pitch an idea because you have no idea how to formulate said idea? There's some honesty. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, right. Thank
And you notice my hand went up with both, and that is 100% true.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to create a new network from the ground up, and I have 52 more days to figure that out. And when
So why are you doing that?
Well, healthcare and valid point. Shoot. Damn you, Tim. Move with that. See? Okay. All right.
Yeah, right. You can go to the next slide. You're all right.
No. So
Are you talking about reinventing NBC, or are you talking about?
my channel on NBC. Yeah, just my network that I'm doing with, and so.
Which is?
Well, I'll tell you at the end. I can't give you the new name. I can
Yeah.
tell you the name. I'll do it at the end.
Oh, it's your channel, Patrick.
It's not my channel. I've been hired to run a channel.
Got it, okay.
So I just have a really quick question.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about people making content, putting it on YouTube, seeing if it gets discovered. That's what I'm getting a little bit. But a lot of that content is heavily manipulated. You can get 1,000 hits on YouTube for $20. I mean, companies like Viral are propagating this space. Kids are using it, families are using it, people are using it. So to make it look like they've got 50,000, 60,000.
So
Okay.
let me repeat the question, because they told us that the microphones aren't picking up you in the audience. Can I just repeat your question real quick? Or,
I say
oh.
they've manipulated that space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With companies like Viral, who work with Sony and all the music studios and television studios, and you can buy hits for 1,000 hits for $20.
Okay.
And yet you're saying go out and make content and hope that it gets discovered.
Well, I'll give.
People making content and they're buying hits.
No, but I'll give you an example. So you can find that in anything. Like you can always find the problem.
You should repeat the question.
Yeah. Did it? I don't mean that as a negative either.
So let me repeat the question so that we can get it on tape here real quick.
Just continue a bit more.
Oh, just 1 second. So let me just repeat the question, because we're capturing it, and they don't have a microphone, but they're capturing it. So let me just repeat what the question is about. The question seems to be, or the question is, that beyond just making content and trying to go out and get hits, because those hits seem to be manipulative, is that a strategy, or is that,
No,
or why would somebody go and do that, I guess?
It's actually a bit deeper. You yourself are going to be setting up a network. You have just said that, you know,
No, I didn't say that.
yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, let's clarify that.
Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. Fixer Upper. I found Chip and Joanna Gaines on YouTube, on someone's random YouTube channel who had interviewed them. That person had like 550 followers.
Right, so you look past that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Most people. Well, but that's you shouldn't care. This comes back to the reverse engineering.
Yeah, ask why.
It's the why you have to think about why you're doing it, and then when you think about who you want to get it to and what the distribution channel that gives you that. It might be YouTube, it might not. It might be a podcast. It might be, partnering with someone through like selling it directly to a corporation. I have a good friend that has her own channel on Procter that's done through Procter & Gamble. She went to Procter & Gamble and said, I see a hole that you have and you need a spokesperson, and I love doing this shtick, and I think together we can do this really cool thing. So she went to the why, and then to the audience, and then figured out what company made sense to let the thing that she was passionate about hit. So yes, you're totally right, and you can see that everywhere. There are too many films out there at there are too many film festivals, right? There are too many writing festivals. There's too many of everything. You can make that argument, and it's a very valid argument, by the way, because we've had this conversation a lot of times. Who was I with? CNBC once. We went into a room and I was pitching, and they said, "How many social media followers do they have?" I said, "Oh, I don't know, like 5,000. We only are going to work with people with 55,000 followers or more." No, I think it was more than that. I think it was like 150,000 followers. Well, good for them. But look at CNBC.
And then I was at.
If anyone works for CNBC,
yeah, right.
I'm sorry.
You work for NBC. I'm going to tell you.
No, I don't work for the CNBC though.
But to your point, there
I've
are
been
people
on
out
there
there chasing likes or chasing
Yeah.
followers, and you have to ask the question, or they have to ask them the question, why?
Right.
So there's some mechanism in them that they believe that creates value for them. If they're asking the why question, they're doing it well. If they're just doing it out of popularity and ego, check it out the door. Don't hire them to be part of your TV show.
Right.
Don't even expect that to be a good business plan, and move on to the things that you know where your why works.
I'd like to just tag on to her question.
Uh-huh.
I think part of her question is that there are bots out there that are tipping the scale.
But again, I think that here's the challenge I have. You're right. So what are you going to do about it? That's where I go with it. Sure, there are bots. So how are you going to get around that roadblock? Remember we talked about the dots that you can't connect because of things like bots or agents or networks, right? There's always a something, and you can talk all day about I really want to do it, but there are bots, so I can't do it. Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want. Excuse my French. But I don't mean that, and I really don't want anyone to think like this isn't me harping on you guys. This is something that I've been fighting for 20 years. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're doing, how you're doing. I get very worked up about this.
So, and you're going to find blocks. Our point is the minute you find a block, you know that's not a who, and you move on.
Exactly.
We're trying to get you to think like a professional, recognizing it's not just one way for success. When you can pivot, when you're doing it from why to who to where to what, then you can always find the missing piece and reconnect it again and remake that roadmap.
And like we said, there's always the lucky sperm bank that gets around it because they knew the right person, or because they did the right sex tape, or they did the right whatever. Well, I mean, let's just be honest about it. There are a lot of people that are famous because they were in the right place or the wrong place at the right or wrong time. But there are a lot of people that have looked for these bots as ways to make money, and some of those people make a lot of money. Good for them. Yep. They figured out how to work the system in their favor. Good for them. I really can't fault them. Would I ever work with them? No, for a lot of different reasons. Not the least of which is they are disingenuous. So, give you an example. So, I have a new project that I'm casting right now, and we really need a certain type of person for this thing. And I went out to an agent friend of mine who I've known for years, and the person we really wanted to go to, this would be in a big break for her. She is a social influencer. She has quite a large following on social media, but she's never done television. And part of this deal means that I would be able to get her on the Today Show, and she'd be on that show you just did under your breath. And she said, fine, $7,000 a tweet, because that's what she's got in her bot world, because she has tons and tons of followers. Well, she's not doing my show. And I found someone else who actually was super excited and said, what do you need me to do? It's a Sunday. Do you need me to do something for you? And that's who I'll work with. So if that's you, if you're that person, that, yeah, it takes a little more time. But, you know, we are an industry that is inundated with too many people. And everybody is smart, and everybody is talented, and everybody's willing to do it. So what are you willing to do to get past those roadblocks? Yeah.
So, Patrick, could you talk a little bit about or not really your friend and her experience with Procter & Gamble, but
Sure.
contextualizing the who, because it sounds like she was contextualizing it from a place of passion. Am I misinterpreting that?
So, I mean,
Repeat the question.
yeah.
Not sure who your why. If your why is, I love doing this, or I'm not.
So the question was, can I talk about my friend that did the Procter & Gamble, and because it sounds like she had a passionate idea and she wanted to do it.
Like her why was the passion.
So here's the why was, I want to leverage this talent that I've had. I want to leverage, why is she doing it? So there's two things, why her, but also why would they do it? So first let's talk about her. For years we had said, that is the most hysterical character I've ever seen. I can't believe no one's done it. Yeah, it's just too weird. No one, I mean, I can't figure it out, and, but I need to figure out a place for it. So she knew that she had this thing that she always wanted to do. It was kind of goofy. So she had been looking, and we were talking, and a bunch of us were talking, and we said, go, you're never gonna get, you've tried to get an agent to be excited about you, and no one's excited about it. You know, well, never mind. There are some reasons why she's had a hard time finding work in that regard. So she started thinking about who might be interested in what she does and why would they be interested. So she divorced herself of her idea and started thinking about the why. Why would someone like what it is? Well, because it's a very unique character that can engage people in a way that feels very that feels very non-threatening, but it doesn't feel fake or contrived. And so she started thinking about, why would someone want that? And then she started thinking about who likes it. And then she started thinking about who does that, right? The distribution. Who does that and why do they do it? So a great example of a company that is built on this, in my opinion, or was built on this, and now they're just huge, so it doesn't matter, is Funny or Die. Funny or Die created a niche around looking for, their why was different. Why should we do this? Because people need to laugh and have fun, and we need to do it in a way that it doesn't feel negative. There's too many ridiculousnesses out there where we're laughing at someone. What if we created something, what if our why was we want people to laugh with instead of laugh at? So their whole premise was built around the why. And then they thought about who would like that. Then they thought about, well, how can we do that? Well, we could do it on YouTube. And we could probably get some brands to underwrite it, and we can get some promotion. We can do some push advertising to your part. We can let the bots work for us to get past a certain threshold. But they really thought about the why. So I'm going to keep us going because we have a lot of time for questions. I love that. By the way, thank you. We were like, is anyone going to talk to us?
Yeah, we hoped you would.
We think we're nice, but you never know. So I want to talk a little bit about the inner workings of TV networks. The same thing is true of film networks, but again, TV guy. So the inner working of TV networks is not a mystery. It is, I like to think of it like a giant high school party. If we all remember our sad high school party days, some of you were jocks, and some of you were nerds, and some of you were hicks, and some of you were smokers, and you had your little cliques. Welcome to network television. And I would go to these events, and I would pitch, I'd go to these big shows, and I would pitch myself, and I'd go into Bravo, and I'm like, oh, it's all the sorority girls, and they don't like me, and I'm gonna walk away, and then I go into A&E, and it's all the dudes, and I'm like, I don't fit here either. And so what I realized I had to start doing in this business, if I was gonna be successful, first and foremost was establish relationships. The biggest problem with people on our side that want to pitch something is it's a very disingenuous relationship. The relationship is, hey, I need to talk to you, right? Well, as a network person, I will tell you, the second someone does it, I'm like, I'm out of here. So building relationships, and the best thing my dad ever taught me is the person you're nicest to is the janitor, and you work your way up. So I build my relationships with assistants and front office people and people that work in the copy room. I do not, if they have a V in their title, I do not care about them at first.
Aren't you a V now?
I am. But I don't, because I am too busy. I have to push stuff off to someone.
Yeah.
So, you know, friends of mine now are like, hey, can I give you my resume to send out? And I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like them, it's because I have too much on my plate.
Yep.
Relationships are critical in this business. And the relationships aren't just about because you need something, it's that dialogue. You need to figure out the why, right? Yeah. You need to figure out the who. Who's your distributor? If you don't know about them, but all you're doing is like, well, they have Duck Dynasty, and this is just like Duck Dynasty. Well, if they already have Duck Dynasty, they don't need yours. So it's, you have to think about, you have to make all those connections that help you figure out where to go, when to go, why to go, and who is going to be willing to go to bat for you. It goes back to that elevator pitch we were talking about at the beginning. If you can't in 2 floors, like I've always told my staff, when you pitch me an idea, you have 1 paragraph. And you better be able to do the whole idea in 1 paragraph. There are people in the audience that I've helped do that on their shows, and I've said, that's not a show. Because if you can't do it succinctly, if you can't get someone's attention quickly in this business, you're not going to get their attention.
And we can't stress this enough. This is why we start with relationships. If you can't do this part of this job, you probably won't be doing this job.
Yeah.
It is the reality that it takes other people. You have to start reaching out, understanding others, understanding what motivates them. How do you help them? How do you promote them? How do you help make Patrick successful in his new job? It's how you start coming alongside to making the shows and doing the shows along with people in the V position.
So what does that mean? Check your ego. Let's go back to checking your ego at the door and pivoting. You have to be able to say, this is not about what's in it for you, it is what's in it for them. Why is it important for them?
So that kind of be like curating, even though you're
Yes.
curating.
Yeah, she just asked, does that mean you're curating? Absolutely.
It's the beginning of that thinking. You got it exactly right.
You have to always be thinking about others. And I think in a very selfish industry, that's hard to say, but that is true. It is not what is important to me. It's what's important to them, whoever the them is. Because if you can't get them on your side, you're not going to get it. And the problem with so many people that we all know is they're like, I'm going to do it my way or not at all. Well, you're not going to do it. So enjoy working at Subway, right?
Not that there's anything wrong with Subway.
There is
Or
nothing
there
wrong
might
with
be a
Subway. I
sponsor.
actually I added this morning. But no, but I was saying today. So I used to go, I don't live in town anymore, but I used to go to the Starbucks on Melrose and Genesee. And there was this barista there that always was hawking his scripts. Always hawking his scripts. And it was so funny to watch. And like all of us in there were unemployed, you know, something in the business, and
right.
spend our days on our laptops. And he is no longer working there. He has a multi-picture deal and has had multi-picture deals for years. Why? Because it wasn't about him hawking his script. He didn't do that because it was his way or not, and this script was it. That script was just to start a dialogue with someone so that they could talk and get to know. And all of a sudden now he's sitting at the table talking to the guy. And then he gets the thing, and then that guy is like, you need to meet. And again, he's not like, I'm so cool. He goes in and says, what do you need?
Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah, conversations change the world.
Second one is timelines. You are not on your time. Just because it's important to you does not mean it's important to me. And just because you don't want to get it done does not mean I'm going to wait for you to get it done. You work at the pleasure of whoever is paying the check. I will say this a million times tonight. Ye who writes the check wins. So you are not doing this because you are smarter than they and you're going to do it on your time frame. Well, again, enjoy your life. Maybe you'll succeed. Maybe you'll be that one, and I'll say like, I'm so sorry I was wrong. Well, I was wrong about you, but I'm not wrong about this. Right?
So I'm writing the check.
Right. So third is budgets. You might have the greatest thing. You might have the Cleopatra that's actually going to work. And it's this amazing thing. But it's going to be done just like that with huge sets and 2 million extras. Well, I work at a digital company where I am spending $30,000 an episode. Now, they're 7-minute episodes, and I make a lot of them. And I make a lot of money off of those 7-minute episodes, but not enough to afford your epic. So you have to, as part of your thing, the whole idea of pivot and the whole idea of why you start with the why and work up through the who and the how, is you have to look at who is that distributor. Where are you trying to go? If you're trying to go the YouTube route or the OTT route, anything in the digital space, Netflix and Facebook, ridiculous budgets aside, most of us are scrappy. So if you have an idea that has to be an epic or nothing, it's not going to work. You have to think about, can you tailor whatever, can you check your ego at the door and do it for what they're asking? So then it comes back to why for you? Well, part of the reason for you is because you need to get that first thing done to get the second thing done, to get the third thing done, to get the thing that's going to allow you to go to Netflix.
It works kind of like credit card interest rates, right? When you come out of college, you get the 25% interest rate and $1,200 only on your credit card. But as your credit score improves, as you go up, you get more leverage, more opportunity to generate money, opportunities for others, and it grows and grows and grows. So earning your way up is real.
So
Especially if we're going to do this as a professional. I think we all in our minds, when I say this, so we just like to reiterate, because when I give examples, I think we all know, except for that one guy, except for Justin Bieber. And so we all have these exceptions as if that's the rule.
Right.
We're trying to teach the rule because most of us are living out a career, living by the rules, and then let the exceptions, let's just pat them on the back and say, congratulations to you. Maybe we can do something in the future together. And then you move on and live out our career.
So we're going to talk about this just one more time, because I haven't said it enough. And then we're going to take a quick break for a potty break, because I need to go to the bathroom.
You're drinking a lot of water.
And no, but before I do that, I spent so much of my life doing the what if game. What if I had been in that right audition? What if I would have said the right thing in that thing? What if I would have? What if I would have? What if I would have? It's exhausting, number one. And number two, you're never satisfied with what you have. The people that I know that are the most successful in this industry, it doesn't matter what part, it doesn't matter if they're in lighting or camera or sound or in front of the camera or doing costumes or producing like me, the people that are the most successful, in my opinion, are people that just love what they're doing and are doing it from a place where it's work. It should be work. It's a job. But it also is something where you're thinking about the future and not waiting for your break. So many of my producer friends are waiting for their break that's going to get them, finally to stop doing Nickelodeon and be taken seriously at ABC. Well, do you like what you're doing at Nickelodeon? Are you good at it? Can you build off of that? Part of your why? You already have the distribution. You already have the who. Right, you already know that lane. Why can't you just grow in that lane and do something really cool that no one's done before? So that might sound a little preachy, and I apologize, it's late, but I think part of this really is, if you really do pivot and check your ego at the door and all these little colloquialisms that we're using, this point becomes really clear. Sometimes it's better to just let it go. Let the stress of it go. Let all of that go. It doesn't need to be, are you doing it because you want it to be perfect, or are you doing it because you want it to get on? Right. Too many people want it to be perfect or nothing. And those people, again, some succeed, but very few.
The why question to me, my favorite part of the why question is I get to start with the idea of, what is that influence play I'm going for? Am I trying to change my community? Am I trying to give something to my kids? Am I trying to help someone raise money? Because and honestly, I could just give to GoFundMe.
Right.
Mission complete, move on, right? So there's a part of trying to find and navigate these dots we're trying to connect, and just start pulling them in and recognizing what it is.
Right.
It's really good for you to look at the collection you already have and see what the value is. One thing that impresses me about collectors, and I'm kind of a geek about this a little bit. But to me, my impression is those famous collectors that we know, they honestly just grabbed things that they liked. And then they hung them up and they look good together, and someone said, oh, can I look more? And that's how they became that way. And then there are the professional collectors out there doing and manipulating and changing. And in a way, like us normal ones, the ones that are not given the blessings that Midas touch, we have to do the work of the work.
Right.
And our idea is let's collect the stuff we can along the way, the relationships, the experiences, the stories, the opportunities, and then how fast can we give them back?
Right.
So the easiest model I can present to you tonight is what Patrick and I are doing tonight. All we've done is collected, and all we're doing is giving it away. That's it. It's a really simple idea. And the opportunity here is that if you gain, we grow. And we grow, there might be more opportunity. We don't know. We honestly don't even care. We're too busy to really handle it. But we know that this is what it's about. So we love this model. We love this idea of cycling and circling and moving and engaging and creating and building. And we just want to be around it. We're just fans of it. And we want you to succeed in it so we can watch you and applaud you and maybe even do something with you at some point. And that's our opportunity.
If you do something on YouTube, send it to me. I'll watch it. And I won't be a bot. And I'll like it.
But your bot's about
And you know what's going to be cool about that? And then I'm going to forward it to someone who's like, they're really cool.
Yeah.
And I want to do something with them. And then you have your fixer-upper moment. Or you don't.
So it's 8:10. Maybe we could take a 10-minute or 11-minute break here and come back about 8:20. We will have time for questions at the end,
sure.
But we probably need a break like you do. So we'll quickly go and quickly come back. And then we have time at the end, and then we have time at calendars even to even talk more and more and more. We try to create that night.
Are there any cheese sticks?
Give us about 10 minutes.
All right, let's get into
Ready
it.
for
Here, I'm going to give
Q&A?
you questions. You will pick. So I'm going to run through stuff I'm going to run through some slides. What?
Can I just add
Yeah?
two things for
You can do whatever, yeah?
Where's Albert? Oh, right there. So Albert and I were talking in the hallway out there. And one thing I was explaining to him, I just would love to share with you too, that there's an idea that we have about community, that it's working through a community is the best place to get things done. So I told Albert, like, look to your right and your left. Those people are learning the same stuff you are tonight. So some of the answer is right in this room with each other, not always looking forward. And that's why we're doing the Q&A part of it, and we want you to go to calendars afterward. We want you to start networking and building this community together, because this is your strength in numbers. This is the beginning of that curator-collector part of it. The scalability happens with each other. So I just want to keep on encouraging that.
I love that, because I think this is the thing. Everyone is looking to me on the stage. I've gotten 5 cards that say, so what are you looking for? What can I pitch you?
Yeah, right.
That's fine. I'll tell you. But at the end, that is what we call a tease. Thank you very much. No,
actually, you shouldn't have people follow you on Instagram in order to get the answer to that question, so you can gain some influence.
Shut up. No, but I think here's the thing. Part of the challenge in this industry is you have to. This is true in anything you do. You have to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. You got to run before you can, fly. There you go. But that's the thing. So if you've never produced something for television, it's hard for you to come to me as a network and for me to take you seriously. And please don't take that as disrespect. I don't mean that disrespectful. There are thousands, as I mentioned, of television companies that do this for a living. That they know how to finance it at the budget I want, the time that I want. They understand what my deliverables are. They understand how to negotiate contracts. They understand how to edit. They understand all the things that I need them to understand. Now, you might already be there, and that's great. But if you aren't realistically, don't come to me. Start where you can. This is back to the why. This is also back to check your ego at the door. Where do you start? There's a reason I said YouTube. You need to look for places. There's a reason that I have friends that workshop really cool little theater pieces that they're creating at coffee houses Or I have one friend that does it in subways, and it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. She does this kind of quasi-Shakespeare thing in subways in DC. And it's the coolest thing, and she's gotten tons of write-up, and because of that, she's done something else. But she didn't come directly through that front door. It's not a slide here. We talked about it a lot in Miami. I'm a fly fisherman. Did anyone else fish? You all live in LA. Of course you don't fish.
They hunt. I'm just kidding.
So I'm a big believer in, my theory is fish the pocket, not the stream. When you throw your line in the middle of the stream, you're just making your line go back and forth. No fish is there. They're not looking for anything there. The water's too fast. There's no bugs there that they can grab. They're looking for those pockets where the bug comes in and then it swirls in a little pocket, and it's just like a little buffet that they come up and go, bink. Fish the pocket. Going right to the middle, going right to a network guy is not fishing the pocket, it's going to the stream. I am getting thousands of pitches a year. It's so funny to be on this side and be able to say that, you know? But it's true. Like, I get so much. What's your pocket? Where do you start? And Tim, you are so right. And you say this, and I always forget that you talk about this. It's figuring out, like, the people near you, nearest you, who trust you. Or the person that is like, dude, you've always been so funny on this. What if I gave you if I gave you 5,000, could you make a video of it? Like, could you edit it? That's where that's where this starts. You know, if it's, I have a great idea, but you know, I feel like I can never afford it, so maybe you need to go and learn camera, so that you understand how your idea needs to work, right? This is part of the check your ego at the door. There are a lot of great ideas. There are very few new ideas. One of the things that makes a new idea is talent. Talent helps unlock an idea because talent, I'll give you a great example. There's nothing new with Fixer Upper. There's nothing new. It's a show. It is exactly. They said, "What's our Property Brothers?" And I said, "Okay, so what's a property? Let's break Property Brothers down. It's family brothers. That's the name. It's a family. They are realtors and designers and builders, and they do it all themselves. And so they're this nice little ecosystem that can talk about money and can show something pretty, and you can have a cool end result. So all I was doing was looking for that. Well, what makes that is the talent. Right? A lot of people are like, well, I'm better than they are. Well, no, you're not, because they have a television show. But let me give you that. So I looked at them, and again, I was pitching a show. So I had an idea, right? I want to do a television show, and I went straight into HGTV, and I know them very well. And I went in and I said, I have them. I have the next Property Brothers. And I showed them the tape. They said, no, you don't. They're awful. I had to pitch that show. I'm not kidding you. I had to pitch that show 8 times. And if you read Joanna's book, she has a whole chapter talking about how disillusioned she was because I told her she was awesome and no one would take her seriously. Part of it was I had to think about my why. I was going in saying, I have the what, I have the thing, I have the Property Brothers. I wasn't reverse engineering my own thing. That show actually helped me reinforce what reverse engineering was. The why was that network needed to differentiate themselves even more and play off of their base. They knew that is a network more than anyone else, that once they're in a lane and it's doing well, they just keep throwing more stuff in that lane. But the why couldn't just be that I said, it's the next Property Brothers. It's another family. The why was they needed to have a family that organically did 3 things that in and of themselves already had a very successful business, so they weren't doing it for the fame, they were doing it to teach someone else. That's the part I was forgetting.
Authentic.
I was not looking at the why, because you can smell people that just want to be famous, right? There's the grid. You can smell the people that are doing it for fame a mile away. So they just looked at them as, these are just people that are Property Brothers wannabes. But when I really was able to break down the why and say, this is because these guys actually have a secret sauce that they don't care if they're on television. That's the secret. Okay, that actually made sense to them. That was the breakthrough for them. I had to reverse engineer and not say, I know I'm smarter than you, because I'm not smarter than them. they own the money, he who owns wins. So I had to swallow my pride saying, I know I'm smarter than you, and just keep thinking of ways to tell them the why differently. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 8 times. And the person that actually said, you know what, they have something there, let's give you a little money and do something and see if you can make them better than what you have here. That person never, her name is Sean Visco, she has never once gotten recognition from HGTV for being the one that actually handed me $5,000 to make that show. So Sean, if you're watching, thank you.
Yeah, Sean.
And more importantly, that was a relationship. I had known Sean, going back to relationship, I had known Sean for 10 years. It was not a favor. We were sitting in a focus group in Las Vegas, which is a miserable experience. And I was saying, I wish I could connect with your network about this couple. I just feel there's something here. And I walked her through the why, and she said, you know, that is really important to us. And what's the demographic you think? Who? What's the demographic you think you can get? And are they someone that would be better for our digital platform? And I was like, yeah, you know what, maybe they are. Maybe we should start them on your digital platform. Let's try that. She goes, well, send me the tape, let me think about it. So she went into it totally neutral, saying, okay, it's a talent for our digital platform. Holy crap, they're awesome. Let's give you some money to do it. Does that make sense? Like that's the thing. You can go in and be arrogant and like, I am the next something or other. But securing, so there is no such thing as a new idea, but it's the point of view you have. So let's say you want to do a film about, all right, we were just talking outside. I just sold the life rights to my son's adoption story. I am not making what I wish I was, but the best adage I can give you is on this point is 100% of nothing is nothing. And if you're going to hold out and be an auteur and I have to have it my way or not, well, you're going to get 100% of nothing. And I wanted this story to be made. So I had to make some compromises, and I had to think about the why, and I had to think about the distributor, and I had to go at it in a very different way. But 17 years after that birth, we have a deal. And that was very different. That's a unique talent, right? It's my story.
And specifically, when plays into that too.
Yeah, totally.
12 years ago, they didn't want to hear the story of the adoption of your son. Now there's a good community of people we're very aware of, certain things going on in communities, and the adoption of your son fits into a large
Exactly,
large
it's
culture.
perfect timing. And so timing, you know, all these things that you all know, timing, this and that, part of that means you don't give up on your passions, but you rethink it. Mm-hmm. Like, originally I pitched this story of my son's birth and I sold it and it was being made, and then 9/11 happened and everything got shelved, and I kept trying to do it from my heart, and I kept doing it, and which is great, it's my story. I hope I have heart from it, but I ultimately realized it was commerce. I also wanted to get it made. So I checked my ego, I did all these things we talked about, I pivoted, you know, I figured out the talent, figured out, I went to the person that I wanted to play the birth mom, who's the most important part of the story, and we spent 4 months talking about the why this was important. And we only talked about the why. We didn't talk about the distribution. We didn't say, oh my God, this is gonna be for Netflix. We never talked about, for 4 months, we never once talked about, I'm not kidding, I don't think we once talked about distribution. Because we had to get the why down. And because I got her committed to the why, now, you know, X and Y. So anyway, so there are examples, those are 2 for me, examples of if you do it right. Now, I can also give you 200 examples of it not working.
Yeah.
That's,
Right,
welcome to business. Welcome to business,
Yep.
right?
Did you pivot, the 8 times that you were pitching, Patrick, did you consciously pivot each time, or did you finally get to the point where you were like, okay, I need to restructure this and I'm missing a part of it?
The question I always ask back, because it was about the relationship.
Repeat the question first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I pivot each time on Fixer Upper, or did I wait until I finally had enough and just pivoted? Probably both, but I would like to think it's more the former. If you're being serious and you're in a room and you're trying to sell yourself for anything, front of camera, behind the camera, if you don't get a part, how many of you have not gotten a part and you asked, what were you looking for? Yeah. It's not what did I lack, because then it's about you. Check your ego at the door. It's not about you, it's about them. right? What did you need that I wasn't giving you? Well, that's true of everything we do in life. I mean, the most successful entrepreneurs we know are people that always are asking about you, not me.
So I have this thing called the entrepreneurial formula, and it goes like this: needs plus resources equals solution. And so the pivot really is the conversation about that. You're in the room, you're recognizing there's a new need. Can you pull up, or can you understand, or you can recognize a different resource? Maybe that resource isn't me. Maybe that resource isn't even your company.
Right.
Maybe the resource is a different brand or not, but it's the need and the resource combined that equal the final solution. And to be able to rethink those in the room pivoting, knowing that everything's open, is the opportunities that you're looking for and the conversations that people want to engage you in. If you're willing to have that conversation, you can keep on having conversations.
Totally.
If you're gonna have one conversation and it's the only one you brought into the room, they heard it, you move on.
Exactly. And we've all gotten that. I mean, we both have success stories and know a ton of people that I mean, we've both done it ourselves. I have often given away business, meaning I will either do it for free, or I will say, I'm not the right person for you, you need to go work with Tim. And guess what happens? Because they now say this person's honest and honorable and this and that, I end up getting work.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
It happens.
And even if I don't get work with them, I am establishing a relationship and a reputation, and it is all about relationship. Another question was asked in the stack is, residuals. This room knows a lot about residuals, as do I. I still get my 45-cent checks now and then. And I wish they'd just bank them and at least have enough. We've all been there. Anyway, it goes back to that. What's more important to you? Is it the diversification means everything's getting cheaper. That's great if you're the person that needs to buy it. It's bad if you're the person that's making it. And that doesn't matter who you are. If you're a producer or a writer or an actor or a director, our value per project is going down. It doesn't mean that we're not valued. It means that the marketplace, supply and demand. There are a lot more of us than there is demand. And it means that, and the resources by which to pay are diminishing. So it does, again, I'll use the same example. What's more important to you? Is it to get it done, business, or to wait, passion? There are certain things that are more important to wait for passion. Totally get that, but we all need to work.
So I like to say that Spielberg created Poltergeist before he created Schindler's List. Right? Like you have to know that he was making shows that people went to. So when the time came to make Schindler's List, he could also make that. And there was no question, could he make that? Because he can constantly produce those things. So in this career we're living out, you just need to know the economics of what you're doing or the situation you're going to, and you can keep on producing with whatever situation. You might have a short-term gain here and a long-term gain later on.
Yeah.
We just want you to recognize all of it and not hold on tight to some of the ideas.
I apologize if we're getting preachy. We really are passionate about this, and I think that's part of our challenge. But also, this is the coolest, like the vibe here.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Are like, this is the best. You guys want to do this tomorrow? Let's do this tomorrow. I saw a hand in the back.
The residual thing, are you intimating that you think actors or our union should give up the concept of residual?
No. Let me be very clear. I'm not here making an advocacy in any way, shape, or form for any union. But I think the reality of business, I'm saying this as a business person, both as a network, but I've spent all my career making, is that you have to, if you want to do this, take the union out of this. If part of this thing is not about acting, tonight is about how do you produce, how do you grow as that, right? So in the production world, you are going to have to make compromises. You have to do that in your world too. So if you're going to have to make compromises, you have to decide where your lines are and how blurry those lines are. And if it's more important to have that line or get around that dotted line and get further. And throughout my career, I make less now than I made 5 years ago, but my future is totally different because I went this path. So it's never, we are both walking, talking examples of the circuitous path is the path that's most fun, But it's a challenge, but that's what makes business successful and makes business people cool. Is you're not willing, you can do anything you want and say, this is what I do, this is the only thing I do, this is how I do it. But we firmly believe that if you want to be successful and diversify yourself in a way that brought you into this room tonight, these are the types of things you need to be thinking about.
Yeah, from our point of view too, the idea is to run through your career capturing those things that you can own.
Yeah.
So if you're leveraging certain talent and that allows you to correct the residuals, whatever that talent is, then of course that's the thing you own. We're also trying to get you to think of the things that get you stuck. Right. Like a lot of this conversation is the unstucking process. I know it's actually the same, but it's more funner when you say it wrong.
Trademark it.
Yeah, I'm totally.
Trademark it.
So the idea is that the question is why? The whole WTF question. What is wrong that I need to think differently?
Exactly.
And then the idea is to go find the next thing that you can own, that you could collect, and then you move on. Right. And some of those things we're saying to collect and you can own are things like relationships and understanding and experience. And some of those things you own are rights and properties and ideas. So securing the IP here is the idea that you are creating something and you have the opportunity to own it. Don't give that up too soon and don't skip it. Because if you don't own the IP, if it's not your idea, it's really not yours to pitch.
What is IP?
Intellectual property.
Intellectual property, sorry.
So when you think about, we really do talk about, I can give you a lot of examples. I mean, literally I can, of there is no such thing as a new idea. I have pitched, I have spent months working on a pitch, and we've had 8 people that have researched it, and the deck is gorgeous. We have this incredible sizzle, and oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And we go into A&E, and we pitch this thing, and they're like, wow, isn't this just like that one we saw on Tuesday? I actually was at a conference once, we were pitching, and they said, this is the 8th of this I've seen this week. I said, no, it's not. I watched 3 others that was exactly mine.
Yeah.
It's why you see the same thing. Like, you're like, why are there 5 zombie movies right now? There is no such thing as a new idea. What separates a lot of ideas, we talked about talent. The other thing is IP, intellectual property. So things that are based off of my kid's story, you can't have that. That's mine. Mm-hmm. So if someone say, that's someone like this. No, this is actually my story. Do you want to see the New York Times article that proves it? Or is it that that YouTuber who does this crazy thing and it's the most emotional thing and you can't believe it, so you partner with them on their story because they're both talent, but they also is something that no one else can get. You have to think about what separates you. Is it you? Is it your talent? Is it because you're this amazing camera op and you have this crazy idea with music? Is it what you've done as your background? Like if I'll get right to you. If I as a network, I don't care if you love to eat pizza and you want to do a travel show, and we have actually said we need a pizza travel show. I will get 20,000 people that will come in and pitch me a pizza travel show.
Eat pizza and travel. My kids being mostly.
That's right. Yeah. I can tell you, I know 25,000 people that would do that show. For free, yeah. But, so if I know I can get that, I'm going to look for what's the standout. Is it the person? Is it their history? This is where reverse engineering comes into play. Why are they looking for this? What separates what I do? Because reverse engineering is not just about them, it's about you. Why am I doing this? What makes me different? What makes me unique? Why would someone give a rat's ass about what I'm saying? And how do I prove it? Because,
I always find this is a funny point that we make, because I swear that most of the time we talk about letting things go, and this is the one time we're saying, and then grab something, right? So I like to encourage you, not only understand the unique ability, capture the IP, but then as a business person, also know when to let that thing go.
Yeah.
You bought the rights to a book, you thought it was a good idea, guess what, the timing isn't right. You gotta move on with your career. You got to keep on finding new ideas, new properties, new thoughts, and keep on moving through it.
Or hold on to it, but don't deal with it right now, and come back to it when the time is right.
Yeah, you don't have to actually sell it. I'm just saying, you have to be able to get beyond this aching idea. We all have that, right? This is the best that's the idea. You have to get beyond that too, because what's the market asking for?
Yeah.
You have to sell the lemons during the summer and the Christmas trees in the winter, right?
Unless you live in Australia, and there's
It's still winter and summer.
I'm just saying. I think the thing that's really important here that we've been trying to say all night, and if maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but I think the thing that's really important here is that if you're thinking differently, if you're willing to take the time to actually think through that, you're going to give yourself a process by which you're going to learn to pivot and adapt to life so much better than others. Now, does that mean you're going to have a show on ABC? Probably not. I don't have a show on ABC. I hope you, yes, you will. I don't know if I've never had a show on ABC. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was
And
going
Tim
to.
Hallen's like 4 shows on TV. I don't understand how he has all the shows.
Well, I did his A&E biography. I can tell you all about it.
Why makes it?
But like, I mean, this is the thing. I went on this circuitous path. I didn't start in this, I was an actor that then went to law school and was in business and then was a publicist and then I was temping because I couldn't get a job. And I was temping in the right office where someone said, you should be a producer one day. I'm like, okay, and I won an award for it.
You never knew something so boring could lead to such great success, right?
That's true. But it's all relationships. It's everything we're talking about, and we all have that story. I guarantee every single one of, maybe not all of you, but most of us in this room, it's a circuitous path that got us here. It's a circuitous path we're on. We're going to have successes. We're going to have failures. We're going to do some stuff. All this is a different way to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to recap some stuff, and then we're going to answer some questions.
By the way, you can if you have a card, you can fill it out. If not, you can raise your hand. Seamus will give you a card and take your card.
So the landscape is very complex. We've given you a lot to think about. Remember, this is one of 3 we're doing, so we're not. If anyone thought they were going to come here and get the thing tonight, sorry.
This is the first of a 3-part series. We're not repeating this 2 other times.
No. So today is really about, all this was about understanding the market. If you don't understand, if you can't figure this part out, you're not going to pitch. You're not going to sell. You're just not. So here's the things that I think that are the most important. Have a POV. And you get that POV not because it's a gut check and then you come with the what. I'm going to make the thing. I'm going to do the Cleopatra. I have the thing. Have a POV because you've reverse engineered into a POV. You've done the why. You've thought about the who. You've thought about the how. You know the distribution. So when you go in, you're able to say, I want to talk about you. I have a point of view, but my point of view is about you, not me. Nothing drives me more crazy than when I go into a network and it's all about them. And then I remember it is all about them. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah, second is research. Research. When you start thinking about that what and the how and the why, you do not know the answers. You don't. I don't know the answers. I spend a lot more time. I spend so much time on Google. I mean, thank God I bought stock because I'm on there all day long and I'm just reinvesting my dividend because that is how I figure out that why. That's how my friend figured out Procter & Gamble. She was literally like surfing the web and she started going down this rabbit hole about a Procter & Gamble product and trying to look at like, that's cool. I wonder if my thing would work. Well, I don't know. Let's look at the why more. And she spent a lot of time. So when she went in to pitch them, she didn't go in character as, being an actress and be like, hey, I'm going to do the thing. She went in as a business person and said, I have a why for you. I want to address your why and I want to address who this is for, and then I have a suggestion for you. So the pitch, she didn't start with, I have a pitch. She started with, I want to talk about what I'm thinking about you. And then she worked backwards. And she spent a lot of time researching that.
So we want you to do your homework.
Yep.
So when I was young, I went to an investor conference, and the investor said
How
up
long
front,
was that, Tim?
a couple of decades ago, at least. And the investor said from the stage, please don't take my advice and then walk out to somebody and say, I have $10,000. Where should I invest it? And from the stage, he says this. And then he gives a break, and you go out into this forum, the foyer area, and there's people out there. And I hear people saying, I have $10,000. Where should I invest it? I mean, almost literally the same thing he said. Don't. So our encouragement here of research is make sure you're not saying the obvious stuff.
Right.
So easy example would be, don't go up to Patrick and say, what can I do for you? If you don't know who Patrick is and you don't know what he's looking for, don't ask him about it. Because it's actually on the internet what he does and what he's looking for. And there are people out there that already know it. He's too busy to answer that question. He's looking for people with the answers already
Tim.
to come through the door. Sure, yeah. But Patrick's on this stage now, but anyone you talk to, it's not their job to teach you what they're looking for. Exactly. It's their job to filter what you have to make sure it fits. Does that make sense? That's the research part of it.
And I cannot stress that enough. I've been on that end where I've gone into, because like I go to a conference and I've been booked time with a network, and I go and I'm like, what are you looking for? And they're giving me the rote answer that they literally have clicked on their brain and like, we are looking for something for a co-viewing that is 60% female, and our demographic is 25 to 47, and we like to play in the competition. Like, and they go through the same. They've done it a gazillion times. They have not 1 ounce. I know they did not want to listen to me. They weren't ready for my pitch because they knew I was coming in not prepared.
I was at a conference recently, and afterwards we were sitting in like a lounge area, and a lady came up to me and I asked her what she had seen, what's interesting, and she said she saw the Facebook TV. I can't remember what it's called.
Facebook Watch.
Facebook Watch. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She watched the presentation of Facebook Watch, and the guy who was, curating it was there, and she thought, oh, I want to meet that guy. So she said, I wanted to meet him. I went up the stage, and he just rushed off. So I asked this lady, well, what would you have asked him? And she goes, well, I don't know. And then she goes, I know I would ask them. I would have said, how do I upload my video onto Facebook Watch? And I thought, this is why that guy ran away. Can you imagine 10,000 people asking how to upload them? Like, I'm pretty sure your phone just does it. Like, it's not even a question. But to think about someone who has a job and they have a lot to process, to ask basic questions because you didn't do your research, they'll never make it. Yeah. So we just want you to know, do research, ask questions, do your homework, prepare, and then pivot because you've done your research, you know the why from the inside out, and you're okay if the conversation changes, you still know what you know.
This is why you're able to pivot, because you look and sound like an expert. You don't have to be an expert. You know, I've sold a lot of different shows. I sold a mafia show. I don't know anything about the mafia, but I figured it out before I pitched it. So then I went in and I was able to pivot because I knew enough that I was dangerous, and they knew that I was smart. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, I was going to go up and ask him a question. You can come talk to me, but in all honesty, you're right. Truthfully, if you guys are smart enough to figure who I am and do your research, and not tonight, don't take out your phone, you'll figure out how to get to me.
It's right there on that mobile app, RevThink. This is a dot right before the ink.
But I hope this is helpful. I mean, the reality of this is that you're not going to get this honesty, I think, a lot in this, and we're doing this because we care about you. Yeah. This isn't about us. I'm not coming here to find the next show. You're not coming here to get a client. We're coming because this is really about us wanting to share. You know, we learned this the hard way. You had a question, and I totally ignored you. I am so sorry.
Actually, this is a kickoff. We're going to start answering questions. You want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, no worries. Actually, I was talking about we were talking about intellectual property earlier, and prior to pitching, how far would you guys recommend going to protect your intellectual?
100%, as far as you can go, because if you do not own something, you do not own it.
Is your name Chad?
It is.
Oh, come
Chad.
on,
Chad, son. No, I think the reality is if you don't own it, you don't own it, and someone might. I once had a show where I had a talent that I had signed, and I went into a network and they said, oh, we heard a pitch about this person yesterday. I'm like, from who? And they said, who? I said, well, they don't own that. They said, yeah, but their pitch was better. I said, well, tough shit, I own her. I mean, I don't own, but I mean, I signed the talent. So they didn't like ours enough to take our pitch, but at least the other guy didn't, the other schmuck didn't get it because they didn't have the IP in the first place. So some things are public domain, some things are fair game. You know, again, like a pizza travel show, there's no IP you can own for that show. You might find a really cool talent. Like I'm doing a show right now there's a big craze on YouTube, crazy pizza wheels kids do, and it's like the grossest things you can spin, and it's like a gummy worm and anchovy and mud pizza. So we're doing the actual version of that, like the Crazy Pizza Wheel show, and where it's all weird stuff, but we're going to prove to you it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a great show for families because it's going to get kids to eat things that they wouldn't otherwise eat. And it's about how to mask and hide and do something cool. Thank you. And so we didn't have a new idea. We don't own that IP. The person that pitched it to us that can't own the Crazy Pizza Wheel, there's 1 million of them on YouTube, but he had an awesome talent. He was a runner-up on Top Chef who was all about pizza. That was like, the only reason he stayed in Top Chef as long as he did is because he kept making good pizzas. But so he had a really cool point of view, and he had a passion that you can see in his eyes. So we bought that show, not because it was a Crazy Pizza Wheel show, but because of him. And they came in as experts, and they made it very clear. We know we can't own the space, but we love this guy. That make sense? Okay.
What's the best way to lock down the intellectual property?
Legal.
Writers Guild?
No, it depends on what it is. I mean, if it's a Writers Guild is if you're writing a script, right, to protect your script. Doesn't always work, by the way. I can tell you from experience. But the best way to get, like, let's say it's a book or it's option someone's life rights, you have to have a deal with them, or their estate, or the whatever.
Content, just putting it up on YouTube would be intellectual property.
No.
What about copyright?
I'm getting into territory I can't necessarily answer. What about copyright? I mean, if someone owns a copyright, they own the copyright, but they don't necessarily own the copyright to the entire industry thereof.
I would encourage you this way. Don't be afraid of a lawyer.
Totally.
There's lots of good entertainment lawyers and they'll work cheaply.
Yeah, a lot of lawyers will even take their first hour for free just to hear what you have going on, because
Exactly.
they're in business also. So
Exactly.
don't be afraid of a lawyer. We work with some great lawyers that do really, really huge shows. And I feel like I can send anybody there, they'll take the first phone call, understand what's going on, even just say, yes, you need that, no, you don't need that, or even help write contracts. But don't be afraid. The Guild probably has some. You're in Los Angeles. You can probably throw a
And there
rock
are
in it for
workshops. I
lawyers.
mean, there's a lot of different. All right, so here we go. Anna asks, very clear on the why and the who, but I'm having a hard time figuring out who the distributor would be. Any tips on discovering the important piece of the puzzle? My best research is looking at like this. So here's what I do. If you know the why and you know the who you're trying to reach, you start to look at where those people already are, right? So if you are doing if the why is because, I don't know what it is, but let's just say you get to the point where you've established that this demographic, gay 30-year-old men with kids are spending a lot of time on Hulu because it's all there and they can very easily watch it and they can do this, that, and that other. And what you're doing is tied to what they're looking for. Well, that might help you figure out a distributor. Yeah.
Can I ask you, how are you finding the demographic information? You said that also came up in the Fixer.
Google.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find literally, and not there. I mean, LexisNexis. Someone in here knows a lawyer. You can find someone will give you access to LexisNexis. You can actually get it at the library. That is actually vastly better than Google, but it's really, you have to be able to dig and research and look, and you can get that. You can get the Nielsen ratings from last week. You can also then start looking back, like what are the Nielsen ratings for the last 6 months? What advertisers go on the show? Every upfront is all about advertisers. So every network is saying, here's who we are, advertisers, here's why you want us, we're so cool. You can find out everything you want to know about every upfront right now is
But
the time.
sometimes it's also right in front of you. I have a friend that
Yep.
launched the CNN airport network, and the
Oh.
way he watched it, he was sitting down and he went, wow, there's a lot of white men that have a lot of money right in this area. I wonder who would network to them. And he went and pitched the idea of like, I have a demographic called people in airports. And he knew they had money. They're mostly white, mostly men travelers. So they created the airport and CNN network to fill in the gap so he could sell the advertisement to the demographic there. He just used his eyes. If you're sitting in a Starbucks, what's the demographic? If you're sitting in a donut line, what's the demographic? If you're in a Uber, what's the demographic? You could probably find things that people aren't seeing, and then you put the pieces together. If you have the right idea, the right connections.
And the biggest thing about research is, again, look for the pocket. If you know that everybody's doing this, you look for, like, one of the whys is, why? Because I found an untapped market. That's, whoa, hello.
That's the flipper.
Oh. That's the why, right? The why sometimes is as easy as, where's my white space? My whole network that we're creating, so this was a TVOD. TVOD means transactional video on demand. You want to buy a class, we'll sell you a class. This was all about, it's called Craftsy. It's all about crafting. Truthfully, the only thing I thought about Craftsy was that all the editors I would no longer hire were going there. And I thought, I didn't think that much. And then NBC bought them for $253 million. And I thought, wow, there's something there. I wonder what it is. Well, what's there is that they have over 14 million people behind a paywall that are actively engaged in doing, and they are analytically seeing that these people are passionate. So NBC, what are we doing? We're creating an entire network. Think of it like Hulu for learners. People that want to lean into their lives. People that are passionate about doing. Why? Because there is not one subscription service anywhere in the country that is cross-platform for doers. That is a giant pocket in a stream. And right away, NBC said, $1 billion right there.
Yep.
That's a pocket. That's the research.
How would people, let's say, people with very few contacts, I come from a film background, so I know that side of the business
Yeah.
pretty well. I can pick up the phone and get a meeting somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know the television well. How do I go to ABC or Hulu or Amazon and get through, how do I find out, okay, I can find out who to pitch to at LinkedIn, how do I get through that?
Can I just interrupt? I think I actually have that question here on this card. So how about I ask this question, and then if it doesn't, or if you need another one, you can fill out a card or throw something else to you. But I think we're, actually it's not, I think I gave you that card. But I think we actually have that, a person who wrote that down. And then we can ask the question for the camera too. Do you want to skip that? I actually have one right here.
Yeah,
But
go.
I follow up
go.
with what you just were saying.
Go.
This person's asking, could you expand on the examples of return on engagement?
Ooh.
And what else are networks looking for besides ROI? So go ahead.
No, go.
So the easiest way to think about a network is the way my friend says it. He says, all networks do is they program a half hour of content and then they put TV shows in between it. What they're really doing is selling commercials, right? So starting in their upfront seasons, they have a whole ad sales team and they're creating large contracts that require them to get eyeballs to watch those commercials. And the shows bring the eyeballs to the screen so that they can fulfill those obligations. That's what they want. They sometimes already have the money. They just need the demographic to show up so they can meet those contractual needs. So recognize what the business of a network is so you can do that.
But let's broaden it. As we talked about, networks, linear television, is a small piece of an ever-growing pie.
Right.
They're still the most powerful piece, but SVOD, what I am, is a subscription service. I'm just like Netflix or Hulu. So I don't take advertisers. I don't need to take advertisers, but I have to, all my content is about getting people to sign up. And at the very least, I need to get their email, which if you've done the free HBO weekend, you've given them your email, because that email is super valuable to market. Why? Because even if you don't come into my SVOD, I have a lot of product I can sell you through my e-commerce store.
So emails are usually bought for about $3 to $5 a piece if it's in the right demographic.
Well, and we don't sell ours. But we have 5 or 6 different ways to try to get you. I might not be able to get you, but at the end of the day, it is a business. The business of show, right? Movie, theater, or theatrical, exact same thing.
So return on engagement, that idea is trying to find those eyeballs or that engagement to the show, to the network, to the piece, to meet those already established obligations in some cases, or to leverage and find new areas of influence or new areas of engagement for the network. So that's what return on engagement is trying to find, as they gather the audience, what can they leverage and do with that audience? Can I get you all to show up in Central Park and to protest something?
Right.
I have a return on engagement.
Right.
Can I get you to all wear a red nose? I have a return on engagement. Can I get you to buy a product? I have a return on investment. I put $300,000 down and someone gave me $3 million to advertise on that show. That's return on investment. So those are those two ideas.
And there's a lot of other R's, R-O-A, there's if you put any vowel behind it, there's an R for it. But I think that what that means is there's a return. No one's doing something for free. So even if it's
In business.
In business, yeah. Right. So even
Your mom is probably doing it for free, I guarantee you.
Oh, no, she was doing it for spread equity. So I just threw 4 cards on the ground because we already got those. High five. All right. Here's another one.
Bad questions?
No, I think we're actually covering them as we go along.
But there was one bad
I'll give you
one.
the long one.
Okay. So, because you know why? Because you can't read it.
I can't read it.
You cannot read that. I know you very
Well,
well.
like, I don't think I can get through that card.
I still have 2015, so
You're a
there.
lucky boy.
So, all right, when we don't have a prior relationship, this is your question from behind. How do you suggest getting decision makers' attention to pitch your way? I would say you need to work your way up to that. You have to. Let's say you don't know anyone at ABC. That was what was asked before. And how do you get that? How do you get that meeting? Cold meetings very rarely succeed. There's a reason I've done so much work for Discovery Networks, Scripps Networks, and Viacom Networks, because they trust me and they know me. And if they don't know me, they know I've done stuff for Sci-Fi and TLC and and HGTV and Food Network and travel, so they know I understand the space. I've often pitched at networks. I've never sold to a network. One of the big 5, because I'm not one of their preferred vendors, and I've never worked for one of their preferred vendors. So they look at me as if I'm a zombie.
By the way, if you wanted to pitch for a Big 5, you could probably go work for one of the companies that do TV shows at Big 5. If you're talented and you have the ability and strength, they're always looking for people to join their ranks too. So don't be afraid of doing that as a possible career.
But just so I don't look like that's the only way to do it. How do you get through? You get someone that trusts. I do it all the time. LinkedIn. Who do you know that knows someone that knows someone? And it has to be, if they don't know you, if you're trying to get with the head of alternative programming at NBC, who's become a good friend of mine, he wouldn't probably pitch from me. Like I don't know if he'd take a pitch from me, but if someone else said, dude, you got to meet this Jager guy. He's actually pretty good at what he does, and at least you guys should at least have coffee. I probably wouldn't pitch him. This is the other thing. I would never pitch him the first time I met him.
Yeah.
Because then it's me coming in and going, it's all about me.
Too many assumptions.
I have the what. I have the thing you want. Well, no, you don't. I don't know anything about you. So that's part of this thing. You have to be patient. You have to go through the steps if you want to be successful. Again, there are lots of times you hear that it doesn't, but those are exceptions.
All right, next one. How do you make sure your why is not a passion project or project fueled or sounding? In other words, how do you separate the why and really the fact that I really, really, really want to do it, I guess. So to me, I'm just saying the same thing over and over again, but this is when it plays out. If what you're doing has interest for others, now you're starting to find a why. Mm-hmm. So can I create a movement? Can I help somebody out? Can I raise money? Can I help you get a promotion? Can I help? You're starting to ask the right why questions. If the question is, how can I get my project seen by something? This is really important to me. This is my favorite thing ever. Everyone loves this. Everyone just loves this. At least everyone in my echo chamber does, right? That's the problem that most people have with their
feed.
Yeah, right.
All
the people I follow and all the people that follow me. So the idea is like the why starts requiring you to think of others, and that others allows you to understand how your passion has opportunity to help or move or create or find or raise money for, or all those things that people are looking for. And then that's why the next one is who. Well, if this is the why, then who needs the money or the influence or the time or the power or visibility or whatever that might be. The healing, whatever your show is about.
I don't want it to sound callous that you don't have to have passion.
You have to have passion.
I am nothing if not passionate, and that has been probably my Achilles heel for most of my career. I am all about passion. but that passion is what, I go to them because, I'll go back to Fixer Upper. I know these guys have the it. I know it. But I had to say it in words that they would understand, and I had to be willing to check my ego at the door and understand that I might be wrong and be okay with that. You know, I'm wrong. Everyone is wrong more than they're right.
Yeah.
Everybody. So you have to know that. It's a law of averages. In pitching, this is the way I go. I go in the rules of tenths. For every 100 things I develop, 10 I ultimately decide I'll take to market. For every 10 I take to market, 1 I get to development. 1 to development. That's not even what I get to sell.
Yeah, and every 10 you get a development, 1.
Yeah, and for every 10, well, no, I mean, I actually can say for every 10 I get to development, 1 I sell. That's very rare.
And I can give you some very practical advice.
Wait, can I just say one thing?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't want that to sound arrogant, like I'm so much better than everybody else. The thing is, I stayed in my lane. I didn't go to ABC. I'd never have sold to ABC, but HGTV and Food Network and Travel and Discovery, they trust me. I have gotten hit after hit. They know me. So I sell more with them because they trust me. So I don't want you to think that I'm just this guy.
It's also your sweet spot, the type of things that you like, the projects you know, the things that click
because
for you
of that, I'm
are
passionate,
those type of
right, and because of that, I'm passionate about it, and I'm
Yeah.
able to say things and say, trust me, I know,
Yeah.
and I believe in it, and let me prove it to you.
And if hour-long dramas clicked for you, you would be in a different field, pitching to a different group.
Absolutely, and I have pitched and I have sold, because sometimes it's about just being confident. You know, the good news about most of the people in the room is that if you're not confident, you can pretend you are.
Yeah, I was just going to give you practical advice, and Seamus is my son over there. He can testify this, but I have Dale Carnegie on a loop on my iPhone, and so every once in a while, just a chapter of how to win friends and influence people will just show up, and it's always a good reminder of what it's like to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand what you're saying, how someone else can hear it. That thinking about others and for others and about others helps get your message across, and your passion comes through because you're genuine about it, and the opportunities will be there because people can hear it. So it's getting people to hear it is the key.
This is a long one, so I'm going to paraphrase it. So she's got the why for her and the who. Where she struggled is pinning down the why for others and getting it past that second round. Perseverance is a big thing, but it's also about thinking about if you, I don't have an answer for this because I don't know the actual, I don't know all the nuances of this, but what I would say is look at every part of what you're talking about. You might have the why down and you might have it great because you're in the right space and you're saying it with the right voice, but maybe you're saying it with the wrong spices, and maybe maybe you've done it and the acting is great, but you never color correct correctly, or your lighting is off. But you're just looking at, oh my God, that performance was amazing, and a producer is looking at the whole thing. Or that's like, what do they spend on that? That's a lot of wasted money. I can't tell you how many times I look at something and go, that's a lot of wasted money. I go, that's a lot of wasted money. But I think that that's really important. So the problem is we tend to myopically think this is the good thing and this is the bad thing. We're in an industry that you have to be willing to look at everything and rip everything apart. So part of this might just be that you've never looked at that other stuff, or it might just not be good enough, and you have to be okay with that too.
That's great. All right, last one, and then it's about 9:10. We'll let you guys go early. This one's a fun one because it just goes back to the overall arching idea, so I thought I'd finish with this one. It's about collectors, and it says collectors pick things that they like and then they hold on to them. Oh. How do you string it all together in a cohesive way or a cohesive brand with a single why? Or do you just need one why? Can you have multiple whys? And then last, what are questions, exercises, things you can do to help assess that? So I'll start with the very practical. There's an author named Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read his book, Think and Grow Rich, he did a life study of basically collectors. The Industrial Revolution produced a lot of really amazing people. And he was, I think it was Carnegie that had hired him, or Vanderbilt had hired him for 20 years to write a book about his friends. So it's really a book about collectors, and the takeaway you'll find is how they think differently. So it's a great book. That's an easy exercise and question. What I like about the question about collecting is this. I'll make some distinctions. I'm talking about collecting, not hoarding. Right? So a collector kind of knows what class of things is valuable and what isn't. But I'm also encouraging you to collect and not just ditch. Life can be discouraging, and we want to throw away the ugly stuff. And sometimes that's worth collecting and holding on to also. So recognize that life has its reality, it has its patterns, has its purpose. You have a mission and a calling, and you're out there to do that, to fulfill that. That's what's driving inside of us. That makes us want to show up on a Wednesday night listening to two guys ramble on about,
Thursday night.
Oh, it's Thursday
Very
already?
different. It's a very
Wow,
different
yeah, last night was horrible. At least you guys are here on Thursday night. But it's an opportunity for you to know what's good and what's bad and hold on to it. That's what's driving us forward. And that's what collecting is. That's the passion part of it. But here's the other thing about collecting. I'm also really encouraging you tonight to collect good things. My mom collects Precious Moments characters. It's not going to get her anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just collecting anything because you like it. It's to look at the value of the thing you're collecting, and not just for yourself, for others. That's why I say the curator comes first. The curator's opportunity to create exchange and understanding for you to learn and hear what others are trading and collecting. And then you grow into the collector stage. Right. So there's a process that you're walking through. I just really want you to pay attention to it and know where it's going. Your own path and your own collection will be unique. But this is what we're trying to just encouraging you to find those good things. Leverage them when they're good. It's the stuff that's just, don't hoard it. It's the stuff that's not worth it. And then in your life, in your career, in the thing that's driving you, know it has a pattern and a purpose that you can fulfill.
There's two I'm going to answer on that, but I want to talk too about what are the questions we can ask to better assess the whys. Best question you can ask is, what's in it for you? Not me, you. Why is this important to you? Ask that to the person next to you. Ask that to the person that you're looking to do. The next time you go into audition, it's not what am I going to do, it's what's important for them. What's important to that network? What's important to the person that is going to give me the money to try that thing I've always wanted to put on film, right? What's important for them?
How can you help them?
But the other important thing here on collecting, which I think is so true, is sometimes you don't realize that you're collecting until you step back and look. Like a lot of the collectors I know here in town, a great one, Eli Broad, phenomenal man, many museums. It didn't start with many museums, it started with him saying, I love this and I'm passionate about this thing. And one day he stepped back and said, wow, I got a lot of stuff and it's pretty cool. And it only makes sense in the whole. Any one piece and you can pigeonhole, I'm this, I'm that, you like coons, you're this type of person. You like that, you're that type of person. But when you step back and look at the whole, you say, wow, look at who I am. And that's the thing that I think is so cool. We are not, one thing you don't know, he's also a reverend. Like, that's part of life. The collection of what you are, the pieces of what you are and how you put those things together, that's how you have the authority. That's why we have the authority to sit on the stage. Are we smarter than you? Absolutely not. We've just collected a lot of different stuff, and now we're trying to share that with people. And that's what we hope for you. We hope for that for you in your business. We hope for that in your life. I mean, really, this is a holistic endeavor for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So just two things before I wrap it up.
Sure.
The two things that we like to collect for sure, we'd like to collect relationships and we'd like to collect opportunities. So we would love to see you at Calendars afterwards so we can talk to you some more, answer those questions and get to know you. We love it. We want you to collect the relationships that are in the room too, so make sure you're part of that. The last thing we'd like to collect is thank yous. So we'd like to say thank you to all of you for trusting us, to coming out and being part of it. So thank you all very much for being part of it today.